Da, 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 da. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the movie of choice for today, and there's the poster right behind me. Unfortunately, you probably can't see it well. Something to do with the particular color grading of the poster doesn't really mix well with the lighting on it, but whatever. I mean, I can see it pretty clearly, and at times, if I mess with the angle of the camera, you can't see it. But you know what? We're not here to look at the poster. I am here to watch this movie. Now, to prepare, I watched all 4 movies in 2 days. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom back to back, and then the following day I watched Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, by the way, I watched yesterday for the first time. I've been avoiding this movie ever since it came out, because, never heard a single good thing about it. But, I did watch the other ones, the old ones, I should say, a couple of times before this week, and I like them. I am a fan of the Indiana Jones franchise. Not as much as some people, but I do enjoy them. I do enjoy Indy and the idea and the concept of those movies. Just, I didn't think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull really does fit the mold. And I hope this is not the case with this one. Because let me just say how I feel about it. I like the Indiana Jones franchise when it's Indy going after proper mythical or mythological, biblical artifacts from various different religions across the world. Now, that is technically, there was some part of it in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but you can kind of tell from the get-go that it's all about aliens. And while, you know me, nothing wrong with aliens, it's just I don't think it fits the mold of the Indiana Jones way of storytelling, if that fits well in your head. And the Dial of Destiny, from the sound of it, doesn't sound like it's like that. So I hope I don't have anything to worry about. But, it's an indie movie, first Indiana Jones movie in history not directed by Steven Spielberg. So there is that. However, I believe the director is James Mangold, a director who, frankly, has never disappointed me, personally. I mean, I am one of the few people who actually like the Wolverine movie. And obviously, I love Logan. Love that movie. And even Ford versus Ferrari was great. I love that movie. So, you know what? When that guy's taking the reins of the Indiana Jones franchise, no pun intended, I got nothing to worry about. So, hopefully I really enjoy it. And hopefully this lives up to the Indiana Jones name brand. That's really all I care about. And of course, what I mean is, well, since I believe it's the first indie movie not produced by Paramount, and that there's always that thing in the Indiana Jones movies where they start with a Paramount logo with the mountain, and then the mountain just becomes a landmark in the movie itself. It kind of starts off the plot. I wonder what they're going to do with that. Maybe they'll just go with a Disney castle and just have that be a famous landmark. Who knows? But yeah, that is a staple of the Indiana Jones movies, and if the movie doesn't start with that, then it's doomed to fail from the start. I'm kidding, of course. But you know what? I think I've talked long enough. Let's go watch the movie and see if it belongs in a museum or not. I had something good going there, and I ruined it in the second half. Let's just hope that's not really the case for the movie. So, see you after I see it. So, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Full disclosure, right up top, I am whispering because it's past 1 in the morning. The theater is empty. All the attendants are about getting ready to close down shop. The last couple of screenings are about to end, so I'm trying to keep my voice low. Hopefully you can hear it well enough. Now, as for the movie itself, Dial of Destiny. Well, I said up top that I think Crystal Skull went in a direction that I didn't think was right for the Indiana Jones movies. Dang it, yeah. The trailers for the movie are playing behind me, but you can't see it because of the lighting, so we'll get back to this. Another thing you can't see because of the lighting, but yeah. Um, so I was hoping that Dial of Destiny wouldn't go down exactly the same route that Crystal Skull did. And I'm happy to say that it didn't, but it still went down a direction that if you'd have told me that before I saw the movie, I would have told you straight up it is not an Indiana Jones movie. It's not, it doesn't fit the mold for the indie movies. Now, having said that, I think after seeing this movie, I think it's inevitable that at some point, even the most die-hard Indiana Jones fans have to accept is that the Indiana Jones franchise has changed. It evolved. You know what was good and healthy for the first three movies, which by the way came out relatively close to one another back in the day. That was one thing. That was a good direction to take the franchise in. The whole idea of real life gods and mysticism and forbidden magic, that type of stuff. Literally the power of the gods melting people's faces, or ancient deities ripping people's hearts out and burning them. That sort of stuff was good for what those movies were trying to emulate. Because remember, these movies don't take place in contemporary time; they take place several decades ago. Like the first three movies were in the 1930s, where these types of ideas and concepts were popular. Now, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull took place in the 50s, where by that time, what was popular for movies back then in the late 50s had also changed because of certain things that have happened in the world at that time that influenced the way filmmaking was done, and therefore it was also influencing movies that were trying to emulate that period. And the same thing kind of goes for this one as well. Like, it's a few years after Crystal Skull, no surprise there. I mean, you gotta kind of have to explain how Indy got even older than he was in that movie. So, yeah, so there's a bit of a time jump, which also affects the concept of this movie. Now, I would say that this movie, conceptually, is a perfect blend of the first three movies, conceptually, and Crystal Skull. Like, somewhere down the middle. I would say that it is a better made movie than Crystal Skull. And full disclosure, I do not hate Crystal Skull. It is not horrible. It's not very good, but there are some really good moments in it. And the same can be said for Dial of Destiny. There's a lot of good in this movie. I mean, let's start with positives, I guess. The movie kind of opens with this sort of prologue. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, but there's a certain sequence at the beginning of the movie, just the same as any other Indiana Jones movie, I suppose. A really cool action sequence. Honestly, that could have been the entire movie for me. But for reasons you will understand once you see it, that just isn't possible. It just isn't. And I don't want to get into why, because that will be considered a spoiler. So it starts off great. Like, that is a perfect opening to a Indiana Jones movie. And then it sort of continues down the same route that the indie movies have done for pretty much all of them. Like, the first half of the movie is a really good homage, love letter to the Indiana Jones franchise as a whole. And then that I really liked. At a certain point, and you'll notice exactly when you watch the movie, you can kind of tell that they're going down a direction that veers towards Kingdom of the Crystal Skull territory, and you spend, well, I did at least, I spent the entire second half of the movie wondering, will they actually go there, and will they actually do it? And this is kind of a, and okay, so here's a spoiler, not a major spoiler, but a spoiler. I think in the Indiana Jones franchise has officially jumped the shark with this movie. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, it's just not something I ever expected to see in an Indiana Jones movie. And at certain points I was sitting there asking myself, what movie is this? But that's really the big, I wouldn't say issue I have with this movie. It's just something that feels a little out of place for an Indiana Jones movie. The rest of the movie, it does feel like an Indiana Jones movie. I mean, there's Indy, there's a beautiful young lady, there's an annoying kid that gets into all kinds of trouble. Indy gets some help from his friends. Obviously, there are Nazis. There are some generic, easily killable henchmen, including a really big one that's really tough to beat. And there's some really great treasure hunting in this movie. I mean, the Indiana Jones movies are, at their heart and core, treasure hunting movies. And on that aspect, this movie executes flawlessly. And of course, Indiana Jones himself, Harrison Ford, apologies, he's great. He never lost a step, and you can feel that he wanted to do this movie, and he puts his all into it. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is also really good. The villain, Mads Mikkelsen, he plays a Nazi really, really good. Antonio Banderas character, he was really good. Sadly, very limited screen time. The same thing I think it can be said for John Rhys Davies as Sulla. That's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, so get over it. But the Boyd Holbrook character right here really saddens me, because it feels like he's just playing the same character in every movie now. Like between this and The Predator and Logan, and I love Logan, but it just feels like he's playing the same character in every movie he's in. And in this movie, I think it's the worst offender. He just feels so underdeveloped, so one-dimensional. I mean, he is playing the Nazi henchman, so it kind of makes sense, but like, even in some of the older movies, the generic henchman type character, they had at least a little bit of fun to them. And the Boyd Holbrook character, I couldn't even tell the character's name with a gun to my head. So yeah, I wouldn't say he's forgettable. He's just annoying. Like, he's very generic and not very interesting to watch. Like, watching him, I was just sitting there going, really, again? That's the limit to his acting range in big movies. Whatever. But yeah, other than him, he's really the main standout. Not in a good way, but the other actors were great. The fight sequences were amazing. Indy still has it, especially in that opening sequence that I mentioned at the beginning. Toby Jones, I think I liked Toby Jones in the movie, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, I think Toby Jones really shines when he's playing the villain, like in the MCU or Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and obviously Doctor Who, and other places where Toby Jones plays villain. I think he plays villains better than he plays heroes, or in this case, allies to heroes, with the obvious exception being Dobby the Half Elf, but that's a different story altogether. So I liked him in this movie, but I mean, didn't love him. Like, he wasn't like John Hurt in Crystal Skull. And I still think this movie is better than Crystal Skull, but I think the John Hurt character is better than Toby Jones' character. But I mean, it's John Hurt, so you know, it is what it is. Overall, I give this movie a thumbs up, even though it kind of veers into certain directions that I didn't really expect it or wanted this franchise to go in. But on a lighter note, this definitely feels like the ending for the Indiana Jones franchise. And there is no post-credit scene, by the way, just in case you were wondering. And yes, I did check. Not only because none of the Indiana Jones movies have ever had a post-credit scene, so why would this one have it? But I mean, again, remember who directed this movie. James Mangold, who not only doesn't want to doesn't do post-credit scenes, he viciously hates post-credit scenes. I mean, he had a whole rant about this. That's why he didn't put the post-credit scene in Logan, and he really hated the post-credit scene that he was forced to put in the Wolverine. Like, it's a whole thing. You can look it up. I didn't need to explain it to you. So yeah, this post-credit scene seems, the lack of post-credit scene in this movie seems to suggest the ending for the Indiana Jones franchise, and also the last shot of the movie. No spoilers. Kind of hints towards this being the last Indiana Jones movie, and then it doesn't. And you'll understand what I mean by that when you watch it. But if this ends up being the final Indiana Jones movie ever, I wouldn't be too disappointed. Like, this franchise had a decent run, a great run if you really think about it. But I think, and this is actually very fitting to say now, I think it's time. I think time to say that this franchise now belongs in a museum, a very respectable place in a movie franchise museum. But I think it's about time to wrap up this franchise as a whole and put it to rest, especially after this installment. Overall, like I said, I give the movie a thumbs up. I'm not super big on the movie, but then again, I'm not really the biggest Indiana Jones fan in the world. I like the movies, but I don't love them as much as some people do. So that's all I have to say for now. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next movie. So goodbye now. Whip. Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.